We greet our friends everywhere with Chapter 6 of This Is My Song, the story of Fanny Crosby. This is another in the series Stories of Great Christians, and comes to you from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago. The year 1843 was a big one for Fanny Crosby. She was invited to become an instructor on the faculty of the New York Institute for the Blind, the school she'd come to love so much as a student. At 23, she became instructor of literature and grammar. She was also at work collecting her poems and writing new ones for the publication of her first book. The long hours spent in lesson preparation and work began to tell on her health, and her associates in the faculty began to show concern. Finally, Dr. J.G. Clements, the physician attached to the institute, recommended complete rest. But Fanny was not one for resting. And besides, with the publication of her first book, public recognition placed new responsibilities on her.
Please, Miss Crosby, you do not seem to understand the necessity of remaining perfectly still.
But, Monsieur de Rosemont, for 5 whole minutes? Not so much as a breath?
Not so much as a little twitch. Perhaps if I explain to you the amazing daguerreotype process, you will better understand why this seemingly difficult task is of the utmost importance.
I'll try.
Inside the camera, I have placed a metal plate which has been specially treated so as to be reacted upon by light rays.
Mm-hmm.
When the lens focuses on an image, your image, Miss Crosby, that image is etched on the metal plate. From that plate, then, we can reproduce a likeness of you. But it takes time for the image to be etched.
I know. 5 minutes
without so much as a twitch. Oui. Now, stretch, jump about the room, do anything which will relieve your need for activity. Then let us get to the matter of your picture.
I think I'm ready to go.
Fine.
Now, how did you want me to sit again?
Almost the way you are sitting at the present moment. But place your head back so that your neck rests in the yoke, which will hold your head erect.
It's a bit high, isn't it?
Please, Miss Crosby, allow me to be the judge of that. It gives you a certain dignity.
And a certain stiffness in the neck.
Now, your hand holding the flowers. Ah, perfect, amor. This will be a fine representation to accompany your book.
Let's start taking the picture, Monsieur de Rosemont. I'm not sure I can hold out for 2 minutes, let alone 5.
We begin. There. Now, not a move. Good. Good. Think pleasant thoughts. Your composure, Miss Crosby, please. We are taking the picture.
I'm trying not to laugh. Believe me.
Please, Miss Crosby, please. The image will be ruined.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really am. You'd never know it. The poor man. I thought he'd lose what little hair he had left.
Fanny, how did you know he had little hair?
He sounded bald. Oh, it was a veritable inquisition for me, Dr. Clemens. But finally, I was just too tired to laugh another laugh, and we managed to endure for 5 whole minutes.
Well, at least that's over.
Yeah, but it'll be some time before I forget it.
Perhaps now you can start thinking about that rest I think you ought to take.
Oh, my dear friend, always the doctor.
Yes, Fanny, for 2 reasons. 1, it is my profession, and 2, I really am concerned about your state of health. You push too hard to do all that you think you have to do, and your health is paying for it.
Well, maybe I'll take your professional advice, Doctor.
Right after nothing, Fanny. Please, as a friend, I beg you, take a rest. Go home and spend the summer with your mother and friends. Take walks. Drink lots of milk. You need it.
You're very persuasive, Doctor, but, well...
Well, what?
It's just that it's such a wonderful opportunity.
What is?
The Board of Managers here at the Institute has been asked to send a few representatives to Washington, D.C. to appear before Congress. Think of the interest in the Institute that an appearance like this could cause.
And you have been asked to be one of those representatives? Of course.
It's such a tremendous honor. I could hardly turn it down, could I?
Fanny, I don't think you have the slightest idea of how serious your health is. But, well, I know how much a trip like this means. All right, go to Washington.
Oh, I'm so glad you won't try to discourage me.
On the contrary, not only will I not try to stop you, I'll go with you.
You'll what?
That's right, Fanny. To be quite frank with you, I expect this trip to land you straight in bed for who knows how long. I want to be there to take care of you when you collapse.
In January of 1844, Fanny, as a representative of the Institute, went to Congress. There she recited 2 of her poems before the joint houses.
Farewell, esteemed departed one, farewell. Deep solemn tones have pealed thy funeral knell. Thou to the grave art gone, sweet be thy rest, for angels guard the relics of the blessed. Hark, hark,
But it was the
thy
second of
requiem
these
floats
poems
upon
which
the
caught
ear,
Congress
so
by
deeply
surprise.
sad.
Fanny had written it in
Pause,
memoriam
we
of the
wait
late
to
Secretary of State Lagarde,
Ye
who had
patriot
died
sons of
suddenly
fair
only the summer
Columbia
before.
shore, a
Some of the
brilliant
statesmen
star
were seen to
set
break into
to
tears
shine no more.
as they were moved by her
Weep, O
tribute to their
Columbia,
departed
o'er his lonely
associate.
grave. Then let the cypress sorrowed emblem wave, the mournful breezes sigh, wild flowerlets bloom, and breathe their fragrance o'er his hallowed tomb.
The scope of Fanny Crosby's interest was phenomenal. She was moved by the death of a statesman, the status of the United States political situation, the impending danger of war with Mexico over territorial issues, the plight of the slave in the southern states. She kept well informed on any issue of any importance. But her zeal for life, for studies, for writing, continued to attack her physically until Dr. Clements was forced to be more than usually blunt.
Fanny, if you don't spend this summer at home resting, taking care of yourself, I frankly don't expect to see you here on the Institute faculty next fall or for a good many years after that.
You're really serious, aren't you, Dr. Clements?
I have been serious all along, Fanny. You seem to think that opportunity gives you the needed strength to fulfill it, and you're completely overtaxed.
You make me feel ill just talking that way.
I'm not making you feel any way at all, young lady. I'm just calling your attention to what already exists. Now, please.
All right, Dr. Clements. I'll do it. I'll go home this summer and try to rest.
When her friends bade her off that summer, many of them secretly thought this might be the last time they'd ever see Fanny alive. However, even though Fanny had no idea of it at the time, God had other plans. Following a summer of rest, relaxation, long walks with happy friends, Fanny returned to New York, ready to take her position as instructor with new strength and exhilaration. The next few years saw the New York Institute for the Blind gaining worldwide recognition. There were many notable visitors to the Institute, and as was her custom, Fanny honored each of them with an original poem. Many of the visitors became close friends of the amazing blind poetess. Her list of friends was a veritable who's who of her day. President Polk, General Winfield Scott, Henry Clay, William Cullen Bryant. The list continues for pages. For the 5 years between 1843 and 1848, Fanny's life assumed an invigorating sameness. But the cold, damp winter of 1848 brought with it a complete change in the picture.
Yes, Fanny, come in, come in.
You seem so nervous, Mr. Chamberlain. Is something wrong?
Just a minute. Let me shut the door.
Why all the mystery?
I must tell someone, and I know you can be trusted.
Tell someone what? Is the Institute in some kind of trouble?
In a way, but not the kind you might be thinking of.
Well?
It's hard to come right out and say it, Fanny.
If you're going to tell me, you'll just have to come out with it.
It's cholera.
Cholera?
That's right. It struck a man not 2 blocks from here. He died on the way to the hospital.
Cholera?
Do you realize what this might mean? It may be the start of another horrible epidemic. And it's starting right here, in our neighborhood.
Within a week, the Institute had its first victim. Fanny sat with the girl, held her head in her lap, and tried to comfort her.
Miss Crosby, I'm going home. I just want to say goodbye and tell you that I love you. Now, please, lay me down again.
She was dead to the next morning. The cholera epidemic spread through the great city. Everywhere the dead wagon could be seen, stopping at houses, collecting its grim cargo. Fanny volunteered her help, made mercury and opium pills, the only known remedy at the time, visited homes of the victims, often stumbling over a coffin or a corpse.
Fanny, are you in your room?
Just a minute, please. There. I'd better put these away.
Fanny, are you all right?
Yes, Dr. Clemens. I'll be right there. Oh, here in the drawer should do for now. Come in, Dr. Clemens. My, you are impatient.
I worry about you, Fanny, especially with all this cholera everywhere.
It's horrible.
I wish you'd leave New York, Fanny, until this whole thing is over.
If every healthy person left New York, who'd take care of the sick?
I might have known you'd say something like that. What's this?
What's what?
Fanny, this is a cholera pill. What are you doing with it?
I make them, you know.
Yes, but not here in your room. Fanny, are you feeling all right?
Oh, a little tired, perhaps, but that's to be expected.
Let me have a good look at you.
Dr. Clemens, sometimes you act more like my mother than...
Fanny, you're not well.
I'm fine.
Now, you listen to me, young lady. I have seen enough cholera in the last few weeks to know what the symptoms look like. Fanny, you have them.
No.
Please listen to me. This is no time for misplaced heroism.
This is not heroism.
Well, what
Dr.
is it,
Clemens?
I'd like to know, when you won't even admit to yourself that you're in danger of becoming a victim?
Oh, Dr. Clemens, I'm afraid to die. I'm afraid to die.
And so we conclude Chapter 6 of This Is My Song, the story of Fanny Crosby. This is another in the series Stories of Great Christians, and comes to you from the radio studios of the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago.